Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Hero Class Showcase, and today we're going to be looking at the full Metal Jaguar. That's right, Elma's legacy from Xenoblade X is alive and well, and in a very powerful, well-rounded attacker class. This is a really good one, and the nice thing about this particular class is that they give it to you relatively early on. It's one of the very first heroes that you can potentially get, and as a result, it actually works very nicely as an overall staple for your team, able to put out damage whether you're actively using it on the field or if you're using it in a chain attack. Now, if you plan on using it in the field, it has two very interesting gimmicks. The first gimmick is that the more hits you land, the more damage bonus you get, and this is all well and good, but if any of your attacks miss, then you reset the bonus and you'll have to build it up again. This makes it very important to consider the dexterity stats as well as any buffs or abilities that increase accuracy. The other thing to point out is there is a gimmick where it does bonus damage when you're fighting against enemies that are performing arts. This does allow for a little bit more active play, but me personally, I prefer to use this one in the context of chain attacks. It's very similar in my mind to the ether cannons from Xenoblade 2, the way that you have to build up that multiplier in the chain attack, then fire off many little hits to get them to multiply into so much damage, and that's exactly what we're going to be focusing on today, is chain attack builds with two full Metal Jaguars on the team, or in one case, 3 Metal Jaguars in one of our demonstrations today. So, the first thing to point out about the full Metal Jaguar, it's pretty straightforward what you want to do for the gems. You want to have as much damage and accuracy as possible, and you see that done here. Steel Cleaver, Analyze Weakness, and Accurate Grace, these are all pretty much what you would expect from an attacker. Now, the thing to point out about the full Metal Jaguar is that they take up a lot of aggro. They hit so many times, there are some moments where they're going to be taking the aggro almost all the time, which is frustrating if you have a tank, but if you have the Fraternal Badge and or Protector's Pride ability from the Guardian Commander, you can actually use this to your benefit. And you're going to be able to put out lots and lots of arts in a very small amount of time in conjunction with that, which is what makes the full Metal Jaguar such a great use for this particular strategy that we're looking at today. So, going over to the accessories, like I said, there is going to be a pretty straightforward reason for why I do any of these. Looking over at Uni, I gave her the Saturni rings and the fiber wraps. Saturni rings, this is very important. You want to have as much damage as possible, and the best way to go about doing that is to have more basic attack power. Fiber wraps, honestly, the thing about this game is that launched enemies, they take a lot of damage to begin with, but you can increase that by a whopping 110%, and you definitely want to take advantage of that, especially where the full Metal Jaguar is concerned, because the accuracy of fighting against a launched enemy is so much higher. I've also had the Platinum Cubes. You could also use the Lunae Rings. It's the exact same effect where fusion arts do more damage. The thing about this is that because we're focusing on chain attacks today, every single attack or art that you have is going to be a fusion art by default, so having that additional damage is extremely useful for the purposes of maximizing your damage output. Other than that, though, this is all fairly self-explanatory. If you have stronger or weaker versions of the accessories that you see here, the ones that boost attack power, the ones that boost damage against launched enemies, and the ones that boost the damage dealt by fusion arts, then by all means feel free to substitute based on what you currently have in your own personal inventory. That's all I really need to say about the accessories. It's very straightforward. Like I said, the full Metal Jaguar is your staple damage dealer. Lots and lots of damage, draws in a lot of aggro, but you just have to learn how to play around that. So, going over to the arts that I've picked out, the main one I want to focus on is Fatal Barrage and No Love Lost. Now, both of these abilities hit for a lot, and when I say hit for a lot, I mean hit many times. The more hits you do, the more damage that they end up doing. So that's kind of the thing about this particular class, the No Love Lost you get from the Strategos class. So having these both together is very potent, and that's primarily what you're going to be focusing on when it comes to chain attacks. You will not be using anything else. This is just too good to not pass up. So the other ones is going to be the Dead Sets. This is a buff that you set onto yourself. The good thing about this is that, like I said, the Full Metal Jaguar really pulls in... Okay, hang on. Can I just say that Full Metal Jaguar is a mouthful? call him something else, like Full Metal like I guess you could abbreviate it, but FMJ doesn't takes a long time too. Uh, okay, we'll call him a smoke show. How about that? We'll call him smoke shows. You want to have a look at the smoke show? Boom, there's a smoke show. But yeah, okay, sorry. Back on topic. So yeah, the thing is, when it comes to the other skills, pick and choose, anything that does more damage, when they're on field, feel free to choose whatever you feel does the most damage. Personally, anything that belongs to the Seraph or the Martial Artist are the ones that I lean into. I think the Incursor is also a good idea. Honestly, Agnian classes, or Agnian attackers, are quite potent, so pick your poison. For the most part though, when it comes to chain attacks, you just want to focus on No Love Lost, Fatal Barrage. But for all the other skills, if you plan on playing on the field, pick whatever you want. But today, I just want to focus on chain attacks. As you can see here, got the Flame Lord for Uni, Impulse Wave. But when it comes to the Fatal Barrage Fusion, No Love Lost, Fatal Barrage. That's all you need. Okay, so when it comes to the skills, I mean, I'll just quickly go over the Full Metal Jaguar or Smoke Show skills. Sixth Sense, more accuracy against enemies performing arts. That plays into the whole like active playstyle. If you plan to control them in the battle itself, you're going to be wanting to wait for them to be performing arts. But even if they're not, though, I mean, you don't really have to focus too much on it, considering the frequency of how much enemies do arts. It might be more impactful when you're going through the game for the first time, for sure, but late game, it's just part and parcel with playing the game. So don't think about it too much, but the general idea, though, and this is like the focal point of this gimmick, is that you do more bonus damage the more you land hits, and that's kind of what we're going to be taking advantage of with the chain attacks. When it comes to master skills, though, Universal Annihilation, you get this from the Seraph. You're going to be fighting against launched enemies, so obviously 150% is super useful. Ethereal Ability is also very, very important, so you get this from the Tactician. This just boosts the damage from your Ether Arts, and all of the Smoke Show attacks are from Ether Arts to begin with. And then the Dynamite Spirit, you get this from the Ogre. You'll actually notice that all of the master skills that we're picking are from Agnian classes. This one just gives you an additional 60% when your HP is high. This is often going to be the case if you have a healer on your team. Honestly, I can't really think of much else to switch this out of. I was looking at like the Ultimate Qigong, but unfortunately that one only affects physical damage, and the Full Metal Jaguar only does ether damage. So yeah, Dynamite Spirit's probably the best that you could look up. If you have any suggestions, feel free to point that out. But yeah, that's going to be the same for both of them. Honestly, when it comes to Gray himself as a character, he's fine. You know, you do find him very early on. They're fully aware of that fact, so they didn't want to make him too busted, but he does have a couple of fine redeeming qualities. Now, when it comes to his heroic chain, when you finish a combo with him, he does directly increase the damage multiplier by a percentage point. By a certain amount of, like a set amount of percentage points. This could be useful very, very early on. There are certainly better options out there when it comes to that end, but if you do find yourself using him and you want to build up your damage very, very early on in your playthrough, that's definitely a good option, but after a while, options like Ashera become available. So when it comes to the heroic order, though, that's where things get really interesting, because when you finish his heroic order, what's going to happen there is, from that point on, enemies will take bonus damage if they have low HP. Low, I'm assuming, is 30% or lower, and this is very, very important because the potential of damage for lower damage enemies also counts in chain attacks when you're overkilling an enemy, because they have less than 3% HP at that point. This means that you can rack up some serious overkill bonus, and if you're trying to build up your class XP, build up more class ranks, you're going to get a lot of class points as a result of that, and that's something that you can rely on fairly consistently, and which is why the Full Metal Jaguar is extremely useful for grinding out your class points. Other than that, though, like I said, Gray, he's not the worst by any means, but you may find better options out there. But if you really, really like the character, by all means, pick him. He's a good one. But yeah, so today I'm going to be showing you guys two demonstrations, one easy monster and one extremely easy monster. So please look forward to that one, but let's go ahead, make some sparks fly. Okay, so for today's video, what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to have two demonstrations. We're going to fight against a relatively lower leveled enemy, and then after that, we're going to fight against someone that's a little bit stronger, because the full Metal Jaguar actually does have a pretty decent damage output on super bosses as well. So, to kick things off, fight against Territorial Not-Bart. Here we go. You know what, start things off with Tyon, give us some buffs to kick off this little battle of ours. Probably fire off 2 Cries of Faith. And the nice thing about playing as the Signifer with the fraternal badges, or the fraternity badges, is because we have the full Metal Jaguars on our team, and they're going to have the aggro be pulled towards them so often that we could actually get ourselves talent gauge relatively quickly. Okay, so here's the thing, actually. I could, and I will, switch over to Uni after firing off 1 more Cry of Faith. I'll switch over to Uni because I want Noah and Mio to have a level 3 interlink so they can start doing breaks. Wait, do I want 1 more? Okay, let's go for 1 more Cry of Faith. Why not? We're here now. It's really nice that there's incidental dialogue between Uni and Gray. They have a really nice relationship. Okay, here we go. Here comes Uni. Alright, so do you know what? We're gonna try to get ourselves some fusion combos. Okay, let's have a look at our interlinks. Mio and Noah are currently still at level 2. Maintaining your hits builds up that damage. Okay, come on, Noah and Mio, you got this. Cancel into a Fatal Barrage. They're gonna have to eventually, right? Do I have to take matters into my own hands? Is that what's going on here? Okay, switch over to... Where is Senna, anyways? Switch over to Tyon real quick. Oh, Senna's behind. Okay, that's fine. Okay, now they're both level 3. Everyone is level 3 now. I'm gonna switch over to Noah, start working on a break. Switch over to Lance for the topple. Switch over to Senna for the launch. And then cancel, press that plus button, and we're off to the races. Okay, so this is pretty standard what we're trying to do right now. I mean, it's the chain attack, we have 3 smoke shows on our team. Gonna go ahead and start things off with Senna because attacks will be unblockable when she's done. Now, gonna kick things off with Noah. Because he is an attacker, he's gonna get a 125% multiplier, which is gonna be quite good. And looking over at the stats, I noticed that there was no power charge on my party, so Tyon's next. This might have been a waste, but honestly, I'd rather use up some healers early on, instead of being in a situation where I have nothing but healers. So, the thing about Gray is that he does not have the Fatal Barrage ability, but he does have Demolition, which is almost as good. So I'm going to use that. And that is going to kick us off to 150%. We're going to bring back 2 people. Hopefully one of them is Noah. If one of them is not Noah, that is fine by me. But from now on, every character is going to be unblocked. Alright, so now, because, yeah, like, as you can see, Territorial Not-Bart has very low HP, so once we finish this completion bonus, we're going to get a pretty decent amount of damage. We don't need to start things off immediately with Noah just yet, so start things off with Uni. Yeah, look at all those hits. And again, that no love lost from this, the Strategos is really effective. Do we need to go immediately? Okay, let's go Tyon again. Give us that power charge with a Resonant Flag. And then switch over to Noah. This is the full Metal Jaguar showcase after all. Get all those hits. And we're going to bring back 2 characters again. Couldn't quite get over the 200 threshold, but that's okay. The thing about Gray is that he doesn't necessarily have those high TP numbers, but he does have those damage multipliers, which are very useful as well. We're going to try to bypass defense with Noah. Okay, this is definitely going to go over 100%. That's fine, because now we're in overkill. And that damage bonus from the Gray's chain order really kicked in that time, too. All in all, though, I mean, we are level 99 fighting against a level 80 enemy on hard mode, but it'd be easy either way, right? Let's go with Uni. We don't need to go for Ouroboros. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go for Senna, because she has a power charge. Sumo Press. Really builds up that damage that we don't need anymore. We don't need to worry about Ouroboros, because that's going to take way too long anyways. Again, power charge, and because this is the Full Metal Jaguar showcase, we're going to cap it off with Uni, who is fantastic as this class. All those little hits adding up, and we're above the 200 mark. Gotta take that snapshot. Ah, she looks fantastic with those guns, doesn't she? Alright, so yeah, 11 mil, a pretty decent amount of damage, of course, on a level 80. That's to be expected, and you could definitely go for more on a level 80 anyways. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to take our fight to a much more powerful enemy, and we're going to be switching out a hero to do so as well, more consistently. So here we go. Alright, so for part 2 of today's demonstration, we're going to be fighting against Seraphic Ceratinia, one of the hardest enemies in the game, and we're going to be fighting him on hard difficulty. I brought Ashera onto the team. I don't think this character needs any introduction, but just quick rundown, this character has some insane kickstarting potential for the chain attacks. Like, if you start off a chain attack with her, get her chain order and her heroic chain right off the bat, you're going to be doing some serious numbers very early on in the chain attack cycle, and that's exactly what we're going to try to aim for today. So, currently going to be playing as Lance. Unfortunately, because we were playing on hard difficulty, we're seriously limiting ourselves to what we can do, and that's kind of going to be a recurring theme, and why I probably won't be fighting as many super bosses in the future when it comes to demonstrations, just because not every class can necessarily handle them, at least when it comes to focusing on them. But we're going to do what we can, though. And the nice thing about playing with Lance, with a break, topple, and launch combo, is that even if we fail the breaks, we can still make ourselves useful with the Signifer abilities. Alright, come on. Keep a close eye. Yeah, even if we're missing, again, we can still make ourselves useful. Alright. Let's try going for another break. Okay, let's see if we can set it up. Okay, bring back Mio. Have them transform into Ouroboros. Okay, so this is the tricky thing. I have them both in Ouroboros forms, meaning that they will be invulnerable to damage from Ceratinia. Okay, I think that should be good. We have every character we may be able to eke out a win from this. So I'm going to run it down to you guys really quick how we're going to do this. We currently got Saber Siege, so we have to run this one first. This is actually a very solid start for us. Okay, so going over to the general strategy, because the thing about Ashera is that she'll never come back after I finish a cycle with her. So what I could do is I could risk going for Uni, but we do risk overshooting. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for Senna, go for a non-smash. In this case, it's the hard dig. Let's bring up the numbers. I want to expend 3 people, so that when Ashera goes, those 3 people will come back, and we will get all the damage we need out of them. Because the moment Ashera closes out this heroic chain, we get the 200%, and 200% guarantees bringing back 3 characters. And I didn't want to risk Uni, so I don't want to risk Uni overshooting it. Alright, speaking of Uni, gonna go for her. And gonna switch over to Tyon for the power charge for everyone to receive. And then over to Noah. And that is going to get us to at least 150%, meaning that 2 people are going to be reactivated. And this is great too, because we also get to get all these hits from finishing Uni's order, and we get the ether percentage down as well. Or the ether resist nerf to the enemy too. Okay, so this is actually very ideal, because now we can go straight to Noah, who also will finish things off with his Full Metal Jaguar abilities. Don't go above... Okay, perfect. I was glad, because if that was 80%, it would have increased and then gone to 100, but we can go to 96% and then add on Noah, and this is going to be some huge numbers for us. We aren't quite able to get into 200%, but that's okay. We'll still bring back 2 people. Slowly whittling down that HP so that Senna can close out this fight. Alright, and then we'll finish things off with... What's more important for us? Oh yeah, physical defense reduction. So Uni's going to be the one to finish this one off. You know what? Go for Gale Slash from Mio. And then Fatal Barrage from Noah. That is 150%. It doesn't matter though, because once we get the Ouroboros order, everyone's going to come back. And we have everything we need. Alright, so we see that Senna has the power charge. So I'm going to go ahead. Smashing time. Ooh, that's a big one. And we should be able to close it out as well. So I'll go for that power charge. And you know what? We're going to have Uni do the honors. Yes! And then the No Love Lost from the Strategos kicked in to close out this one. Very lucky. That's the thing. I think this is one of those cases where you really have to attempt fighting against these things over and over again on hard. Especially because, like, this team isn't especially optimized for this kind of fight. But even then, like, if you're willing to persist and you get lucky, you may be able to pull it off, as we did just now. Alright. So yeah, all in all, that's pretty much what you'd expect. So the Full Metal Jaguar pretty much is a staple in any team. You could throw it on to pretty much any team and it would do very, very well, especially if you're working with the topple launch combos and then the fiber wraps to increase the damage. There's so many options to go through, but yeah, lots of fun with the full Metal Jaguar. Perfect, like I said, for trading class points because of the overkill bonuses that it can easily reach, especially with Gray on your team. But even without Gray, you're going to put out some serious numbers, and those numbers really count towards the overkill counts. But yeah, guys, thank you very, very much for watching today's episode of the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Hero Class Showcase, and I hope to see you guys next time as we tackle some more different and unique challenges. So I hope to see you guys then. Take care, everyone.